In this video, I'll teach you how to sew the body to the head of an amigurumi using my stitch crochet pattern as an example. So the first important thing that you need to have next to you when sewing amigurumi parts are pins. I always say that here in all my videos, pins are way more important than people imagine. Please don't underestimate how important they are during sewing. Especially these bigger sized pins. I have a regular sized one. These are those common pins that usually comes in a circular plastic thing in many different colors, and they are quite short. I mean, they can be useful to pin parts like the nose or even this detail in the head, for example. But when it comes to bigger parts like the head to the body, I think those smaller pins are not so helpful. So see the difference between them? This one is way longer. I also have this other box of pins here. They are the most simple ones, and I love these pins, but not for sewing. They serve other purposes like positioning amigurumi parts. So I always recommend you have different size pins. They are cheap and they usually come in a large quantity, and they are very, very helpful for placing parts of the amigurumi correctly and also for sewing. The second thing that we need, of course, is tapestry needle. And I have two examples here. I have this bent tapestry needles. Let me take one from the box. This is from Tulip. And I do love this set of tapestry needles here. And I have these straight ones. These are from Clover. And I also love these tapestry needles. They are really good. But you can see the difference between them. One has a straight point and the other one is bent. Again, if you don't have the bent tapestry needle, it's totally fine. You can sew the body to the head or the head to the body with those straight and classic tapestry needles. But if you have these ones that have a bent tip, these are going to be a bit better for you for sewing the body to the head of your amigurumi. So enough chit chat, let's get it started. So first of all, I have my long tail here to sew. This is very important. I always say do not leave a short tail to sew because this is where our nightmare starts. And I'll take my long pins here. And first of all, you pin. You look at your amigurumi and see if it's in the correct position. It shouldn't be here, not here, or like this, because then you see that the head is forwards to the body or here in the back. Try to centralize it, okay? And once you do that, you start pinning the head to the body. Another important thing, the body is not like super stuffed right now. I slightly stuffed the body until like here, I would say 3/4 of the body, and I will finish stuffing once I'm almost finished with the sewing of these two parts. You can see that I placed one pin here, one pin in the front. I will place one in the other side, but don't try to save pins here, okay? Use as much as you can. So when you start sewing and moving things, they won't escape. The head won't move. Look again, it's always important when you're placing and sewing things, you do a little bit and then you put the amigurumis like here next to your face, then you put it further so you can see with a distance if it's well aligned, if everything is well aligned. Well, in my case, I think it is. So it's time to start sewing. You see that my yarn is here. So what I like to do is, first of all, you have to locate where is the nearest gap between stitches in the head. I mean, where is the nearest gap to the yarn? And for me, it is here. So I simply pass the tapestry needle like this in this gap between stitches. You pull the yarn. And now, I like to pull it very, very tight to make sure that it's safe. Now, with the tapestry needle, I go back exactly to the same stitch where the yarn was coming from, and I do it like this, horizontally, to the following stitch in the body. You come back to the same stitch where the yarn was before and do it horizontally. You see that this way, you always pass through the same gap twice. This way, the head will be well secured to the body and it won't move when you're sewing, I'm sorry, because sometimes we start sewing and then when we look, the head is a little bit to the left or to the right. So that way it won't move either. But first of all, you see how safe it is with the pins. It's not moving. This is very important. That's why I said in the beginning that you should not underestimate the importance of using pins. So you see that I always pass horizontally the yarn and the body. I go back to the same stitch where it was before and pass horizontally again. And this is what you have to do all over the body. But one big tip again is you attached a few stitches here. So look, check again. Is the amigurumi still well placed? Did any part of the amigurumi move? If it's still in place, okay, then it's fine to continue. Otherwise, you can undo a few stitches and you won't be that upset, okay? But believe me, once you pin the amigurumi correctly, you do not have to sew it twice, okay? So I'm almost finishing with sewing. You can see that there is only this part here left. I already sewed this part, this half, and also the front. There is only this part left. And this is the moment where I like to start stuffing again. So it's quite empty, the amigurumi here. I made sure that it was well stuffed in the feet, otherwise it would be hard for me to start stuffing the feet right now. So you can keep stuffing your amigurumi from that point. And my tip for you is always do the technique that I told you. It's closer to your face, then you put it further to see if the head is well placed or not. So my tip for you is as you sew the next stitches, you keep stuffing the head, okay? Because if you stuff too much right now, you may insert the tapestry needle here and maybe do this. I'm exaggerating just so you can understand, but you can grab stuffing and it gets really messy. So my recommendation is you stuff and continue to sew a couple more stitches, and then you stuff a bit more, and also use tweezers to help you with stuffing. I strongly recommend you use this kind of tweezers here, that they are very sharp, very pointy, because they are a bit easier to stuff, because the smaller the gap is for you to stuff, the better it is to use tweezers, okay? And you can simply take some balls of stuffing like this. There are other videos here in the channel that I teach how to stuff correctly, but that's basically what I do. I wrap a little bit of stuffing in the tweezer, and of course here the gap is still big, but you see that the tweezers are quite helpful to put the stuffing inside and far from the sewing that you need to do, so it won't bother you. And that's it. I finished sewing the body to the head of our cute stitch, and you can see here that, let me focus, and you can see here that the sewing is perfect. Let me show you in the back. And just so you know, the technique that I taught you to sew the body to the head was the same that I sewed the tail, and it's really, really safe. Look how it is. And also the nose, it's exactly the same technique that I used to sew the nose. And if you'd like to have the pattern for Stitch and also for Lilo, I will leave the link for my website here in the description of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any new tutorials, tips and tricks that I bring here every week.